Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm David Lam, sitting in for Liang Zhang tonight. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. Californians gathered in the state capitol to protest what has been called the Infanticide bill. Over 1,000 people gathered to protest the bill, which would decriminalize babies dying in certain circumstances after birth. A man was sentenced to a total of nearly 200 years in prison for a murder in a wealthy Southern California neighborhood. We'll look at what he was charged for. And a brother and a sister have pleaded guilty to stealing and selling millions of dollars worth of Apple computers from Stanford University. Just how much did they make? We'll have the number for you. Up first, over 1,000 people gathered on the steps of the California state capitol to speak out against a controversial bill, often labeled as the Infanticide bill. Some lawmakers say the bill would decriminalize pregnancy loss after birth, but rallygoers say the current wording could legalize the killing of newborn babies.
Over 1,000 people gathered on the steps of the California Capitol building on Tuesday morning to lobby against Assembly Bill 2223, dubbed the Infanticide bill.
This bill's overbroad restrictions will chill reporting of child abuse and child murder, and it prevents investigations. The evil absurdity of this cannot be overstated. It is only after an investigation that we can even determine if a death was pregnancy-related.
Speakers warned of how the bill would legalize infanticide to the crowd, which was over double what organizers expected. Members of the California Family Council, the Children's Health Defense, and the faith community joined the People's Convoy in opposition to the bill. The truckers arrived a day earlier to protest a list of vax mandate bills.
I saw a sign over here that had the health and safety code written on it, and that code specifically says perinatal death is up to 30 days after. And they amended it to say for pregnancy-related causes, but that could be anything.
The rally was in response to State Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks's bill. She introduced the bill in February and says it is meant to prevent pregnant women from being prosecuted for terminating their pregnancy or losing their baby. During an April 5th Judiciary Committee meeting, Wicks cited 2 women who were prosecuted for having stillbirths.
Prosecutors in this state have charged people with homicide offenses for pregnancy loss. 2 examples are the cases of Chelsea Becker and Adora Perez, 2 California women who were recently prosecuted and imprisoned for their stillbirths.
An investigation found that Becker and Perez both experienced stillbirths because of using methamphetamine during their pregnancies. According to AB 2223, a mother or healthcare provider's actions or omissions cannot be held responsible for miscarriage, stillbirth, or abortion, or perinatal death of a baby. But perinatal is not precisely defined in the bill.
The amendment actually made it worse, because what we have now is some undisclosed period of time that when the baby is born, that child can be killed, murdered, somehow die. It will not be investigated, as the fine attorney pointed out.
Hibbs said Wicks's bill might be coming from good intentions, but the bill is morally wrong. Speakers and organizers encouraged attendees to be polite in sharing their grievances with AB 2223 at the 4 p.m. Assembly Health Committee hearing. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Despite the protests, the bill advanced in an 11-3 vote. California's unemployment rates decreased substantially over the past year, according to the latest data. But that's not all good for businesses, as they are still facing worker shortages. Let's take a look at the numbers.
Data from the U.S. Department of Labor's Bureau of Labor Statistics show employment rates have increased in 49 states in the country. The April 15th report shows California accounting for the largest job increase, over 1 million jobs created in the past year. In March, California added over 60,000 jobs. That drove down the unemployment rate from February's 5.3% down to 4.9%. For the first time since the start of lockdowns for the CCP virus, also known as COVID-19, the number of unemployed Californians has dropped below 1 million. However, total employment remains below pre-pandemic levels. According to the latest report from the National Federation of Independent Businesses, or NFIB, labor shortages continue to be one of the top challenges for small business owners in California, second only to inflation. The report's survey found approximately 49% of small business owners said they have raised compensation, while 28% said they plan to raise compensation in the next few months. NFIB Chief Economist Bill Dunkelberg said in a statement, owners have continued to increase their compensation in March to attract the right employees for their open positions. However, these rising labor costs will be passed on to their consumers through higher selling prices. Industries that have the most job openings waiting to be filled are transportation, construction, and manufacturing. Approximately 62% of construction companies reported few or no qualified applicants during their hiring periods.
A two-time convict who fatally shot the wife of a music legend was sentenced to 3 life terms. He received 150 years in jail and 40 more years for weapons violations. The killing happened during a robbery of the couple's home in a wealthy Southern California neighborhood.
Ariel Maynor, 30, of Los Angeles, pleaded guilty in March to killing 81-year-old Jacqueline Avant, Clarence Avant's wife. She was shot in the back on December 1st during a brazen burglary at the couple's home in Beverly Hills. On Wednesday, Maynor was sentenced to 150 years to life in prison. That's about 3 life terms. Maynor also admitted to shooting at a security guard, who was not wounded, while trying to flee the scene. He pleaded guilty to 1 count each of murder, attempted murder, and being a felon in possession of a firearm, and 2 counts of residential burglary with a person present. He also admitted allegations of using an assault long-barrel pistol during the crimes, along with admitting prior robbery convictions from 2013 to 2018.
A U.S. judge recently sentenced 2 individuals for selling MacBooks that they stole from Stanford University. Their scheme involved over $4 million worth of computers. I took a look at how they did it. A former Stanford University employee and her brother were sentenced to prison for stealing and selling university laptops. 38-year-old Patricia Castaneda was sentenced to 33 months in prison. Her 37-year-old brother, Eric Castaneda, was sentenced to 18 months. Both received sentencing after pleading guilty to the charges, according to Monday's announcement. According to court documents, Castaneda worked in the School of Humanities and Sciences, allowing her to order Apple MacBooks for the private university. In 2009 or 2010, she began stealing the laptops that she ordered and selling them for cash, initially to someone she met on Craigslist. Then around 2016, Castaneda began giving the MacBooks to her brother to sell to someone named Philip James, who then resold and shipped the laptops from Folsom to outside California. The total cost of the MacBooks added up to over $4 million, including approximately 800 MacBooks that the brother sold to James, which is about $2.3 million. The siblings are ordered to pay $6 million in restitution. James also bought stolen MacBooks from UC Berkeley. He too pleaded guilty and is scheduled for sentencing on July 25th. David Lamb, NTD News, California. Stocks for major streaming services took a hit on Tuesday. Netflix had not only the biggest drop in value of the group, but also showed its first membership decrease in a decade.
Netflix reported its first time losing subscribers in more than a decade on Tuesday. The California-based streaming giant predicted that more contractions in the second quarter are to be expected. Its stock dropped by 23% in aftermarket trading, erasing $30 billion in market value. CEO Reed Hastings stayed positive.
When we were growing fast, it wasn't the high priority to work on. And now we're working super hard on it. And, remember, these are over 100 million households that already are choosing to view Netflix. They love the service. We just got to get paid.
The drop in value comes with its loss of 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter. The loss is a far cry from its forecasted increase of 2.5 million subscribers. Netflix lost another 700,000 members after suspending service in Russia in March in response to the conflict in Ukraine. The shrink is a rare miss for Netflix, which has acted as a reliable growth engine for investors. Other California-based streaming platform stocks took a hit at the same time. Roku dropped by 6%, Disney 3%, and Warner Bros. Discovery was down by 2%.
We're now heading to a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. A group is offering free test strips at bars to test for fentanyl. The group is aiming at recreation drug users. Others say it will just encourage drug use. Inmates at a well-known California prison can now attend an accredited community college behind bars. The people involved say it's another step towards better rehabilitating inmates. And a gardening spree is taking off in a Southern California city. The two newly opened community gardens saw a flood of applicants recently. We'll take a look at what's bringing out people's green thumbs. A harm reduction nonprofit in California is handing out free illicit drug tests at bars. The goal? The tests are designated to give recreational drug users the ability to check for the presence of the deadly synthetic opioid fentanyl.
Walking into the Good Hop Craft Bar in Oakland, California, Allison Heller looks like any other patron coming in for happy hour. But instead of heading to the bar for a beer, she heads straight to the bathroom. Inside, she pulls out a plastic bag from her backpack containing fentanyl test strips.
If you are going to use drugs here, you can test them.
Heller is a co-founder of the harm reduction nonprofit FentCheck. She hands out strips like these, which are designed to give users of recreational drugs the ability to check for the presence of the deadly synthetic opioid fentanyl.
We're done with dead kids. We're done with accidental overdoses. Because even if, we really do like to encourage recreational drug users to engage with harm reduction, of course we are also serving people who are struggling with drug addiction. They cannot make it to rehab. They cannot make it to the next step in their sobriety if they die that night.
The test functions similarly to a pregnancy or COVID-19 test, with lines indicating positive or negative. Users fill a cup with an ounce of water, put in a particle of the substance, dip the strip into the water for 15 seconds, then set the strip down for 5 minutes. Fentanyl, which can be 100 times more potent than morphine, is increasingly being mixed with other drugs, such as cocaine, without users knowing, as drug suppliers seek to boost their effects. Melissa Myers, owner of the Good Hop, called her decision to carry the strips a no-brainer.
I want to keep our customers alive, We fought to stay alive through COVID, and I want them to be able to keep coming here, not die on a street or die at home because they've decided to try some new drugs.
Strips like these are becoming more commonplace in bars, restaurants, and venues in Oakland. The Bay Area is grappling with the opioid epidemic and soaring death toll. While use of the strips may be growing in the Bay Area, not all cities and states accept them. Opponents have criticized them, claiming they enable drug users.
Well, I just don't think it's a good policy to make it easier for people addicted to drugs to use drugs.
The drug has flooded U.S. streets and contributed to nearly 500,000 U.S. opioid overdose deaths over 2 decades. According to health officials, in California alone, nearly 4,000 people died from fentanyl-related overdoses in 2020.
For decades, inmates at San Quentin State Prison have been taking literature, pre-calculus, and other higher education classes. But as of this year, they will also be students of the Mount Tamalpais Community College, now that the prison's college program has gained accreditation. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
The designation came after the 19-member board reviewed the program and determined it met certain educational standards.
On page 72,
the instructors are volunteers from prestigious Bay Area colleges like UC Berkeley. The community college is believed to be the first in the U.S. with a campus inside a prison.
I think now with having one accepted accredited college, all of a sudden more people might be more open to the idea of like, hey, what if we try this revolutionary idea somewhere else? So I think that the future looks hopeful for higher education in prisons.
Formerly known as the Prison University Project at Patton University, the school has provided free education to San Quentin inmates for 25 years. Its offerings include an associate's degree program and a college preparatory program.
They're not just giving you an education, they're giving you hope. You know, they're giving these individuals up in here hope. You know, we're in a place where it's basically hopeless.
Accreditation means the school is independent, and the college can now focus on improving the quality of instruction, expanding student support services, and increasing access to technology and library resources.
So initially when we decided to pursue accreditation, it was because we wanted to be independent and not subject to the ups and downs of another institution. But once we embarked on the process, we realized there were huge advantages to becoming independent and independently accredited.
The accreditation designation also makes it easier for students to prepare to transfer to other colleges when they're no longer incarcerated. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A 19-year-old who disappeared from his family's home in California nearly 3 years ago has been found in Utah. His discovery is bringing relief to his parents, who feared they would never see him again. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
You look like you're shivering.
Connor Jack Oswalt was shivering and cold when sheriff's deputies came across him Saturday outside a convenience store in Summit County.
We're overwhelmed with joy and gratitude. It's the biggest blessing in the world, in existence, in fact. I mean, what are the odds of that happening?
His family had searched for him for years. They even moved back to the town of his birth, Idaho Falls, hoping he would eventually make it back there.
Think of something or someone that you've lost and that you've grieved and that you thought you'd never see again. And then they just poof into existence.
Oswald has been diagnosed with autism and other mental health conditions and was 17 when he left the family's home in Clear Lake, California. The exact circumstances of his disappearance and whereabouts over the last 2 years are under investigation. When the Flints first got the call, they worried their son had been found dead.
You know, and then we call, say, this is Summit County Sheriff's Office. Their hearts sank. They thought this was it. They believed that this was the call that they had dreaded ever receiving. And we said, we believe we have Connor Jack, and he's alive.
His family is hoping to bring him back home soon, but a judge has ordered Oswalt released from custody, and his parents worry he could disappear again. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Recent inflation and the COVID-19 pandemic have together spurred more Southern Californians to start gardening, according to local experts. Volunteers of different ages came together for some good old garden work.
Big plastic.
About 30 gardening enthusiasts and volunteers came out to Burbank's first community garden site on April 16th. Volunteers at the Burbank Community Gardens were surprised this month after seeing a surge of interest in their community gardens. Around 150 people and organizations applied for a few open spots at 2 new gardens. Locals have said that a huge surge of people wanted to grow their own veggies, seeing it first at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. One expert gardener told the Epic Times, "I think so many people have been at home and reconnecting on a level they never did before. I do believe there's been a huge shift toward growing your own food and growing native plants, being better hosts to our native ecology, and being a part of it instead of separate." The land is reportedly owned by Los Angeles Water and Power and leased back to the city of Burbank for the garden. All food grown at the site will be organic, and they expect to grow food all year, including tomatoes, zucchini, peppers, cucumbers, snap peas, lettuces, and other vegetables. Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Sports Roundup.
Scott Reedy had his first career 2-goal game, and the San Jose Sharks snapped a 10-game winless streak by beating the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-2 on Tuesday night. Rudolph Balcers also scored, and Kaapo Kakkonen made 22 saves to help the Sharks snap their longest skid since losing 10 straight in November 2005. Jack Roslovich scored twice for Columbus for his third multi-goal game in the past 5 contests. Elvis Merzlikin made 25 saves. The Blue Jackets got swept in their 3-game California swing, getting outscored 8-1 in the first period of the 3 losses. Reedy made it 3-0 when he batted a rebound of Sasha Chemesky's shot out of midair and past Merzlikin. The Blue Jackets finally broke through early in the third when Roslovich scored on a rush late in a power play. Roslovich added his second with 6 minutes and 27 seconds to play, but Columbus couldn't get the equalizer. Blue Jackets 2, Sharks 3. Philip Denault scored the tie-breaking goal early in the third period, and the Los Angeles Kings solidified their grasp on a playoff spot with a 2-1 victory over the Anaheim Ducks on Tuesday night. Jonathan Quick made 29 saves in a frequently spectacular performance, and Adrian Kemp scored the first goal in the Kings' third victory in 4 games. Los Angeles is closing in on the end of its 3-season playoff drought, moving 5 points clear of Vegas and Vancouver to third place in the Pacific Division. The Kings still had trouble shaking the Ducks in the third freeway face-off of the season, and Quick had to make 16 saves in his outstanding performance in the second period to keep the score even. After a scoreless first, Kempe put the Kings ahead early in the second with a snapshot on a loose puck from a face-off. Kemp's 34 goals are tied for the second most by a Los Angeles player in the past 15 seasons, surpassed only by captain Anze Kopitar's 35 goals in the 2017-2018 season. 5 minutes later, Troy Terry fed Enrique for his 18th goal on a slick backhand. Anaheim had several golden scoring chances while controlling most of the rest of the period, but Quick was unbending. The Southern California rivals meet again this weekend in downtown Los Angeles. Kings 2, Ducks 1. The San Diego Padres on Tuesday said their players will wear a patch advertising Motorola on their jerseys starting next season, making them the first Major League Baseball team to announce such a move. The large 4x4-inch patch features the telecommunications company's Batwing logo, which will be woven into the shoulder of the uniforms. The move comes after MLB agreed to allow sponsored patches next year and helmet decals as soon as this year's postseason, Forbes reported earlier this month. The National Basketball Association has allowed sponsored jersey patches for several years, and the National Hockey League is reportedly poised to follow suit next season. The NFL has yet to open the door to sponsors being displayed on helmets or uniforms.
As always, I'm Thomas Christian, and thanks for tuning in.
And that's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for a show, or you just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Lamb. Have a wonderful evening.